You've seen the aesthetic, the candles, the crystals, the trending TikToks, but real witchcraft, it's older, it's deeper, and it's far more powerful than what's in your Instagram feed or on your FYP on TikTok. So let's clear the incense-filled air. Witchcraft isn't about vibes, it's about practice. It's not a trend, it's a path. And if you're new, curious, or even a little skeptical, this is the video that is going to give it to you straight. No gatekeeping, no sugarcoating, just truth, clarity, maybe a little bit of magic, and some humor. Let's start at the root of it all. What is witchcraft really? So, as I mentioned just a minute ago, at its core, witchcraft is a practice. It's not a religion, it's not a trend, and it's definitely not something you need to be certified for, okay? Witchcraft is the intentional use of energy to create change within yourself, within your life, and within the greater world around you. Witchcraft is ancient. Every culture has or has had its own form of folk magic or spiritual connection. It's relationship, okay, with nature, with spirit, with yourself, and with your intuition. There's no one single path. There are solitary witches like myself. There are witches that join a coven. There are traditionalists. There are eclectic witches, again, kind of like myself. It's all valid. All of it is valid. Some witches are deeply spiritual, as am I. Some are very secular and don't work with spirit or deity. Witchcraft meets you where you are. I was going to say there are no gatekeepers and no one right way to do it. I'm not going to go into it too much in this video, but there are, depending on culture and where you live in the world and some other things, there are maybe some practices that are closed to you, and there are good reasons for that. So witchcraft is also about respecting others' beliefs. Okay, that is all I'm going to say about that right here. I may create another video about deconstruction and deconstructing your spirituality, but for now we're just going to leave it at that. Witchcraft isn't about memorizing rituals or copying someone else's grimoire or book of shadows. It is about building a practice that works for you, that is grounded in your intention and your action. What witchcraft isn't, all right? There are so many misconceptions floating around out there, and if you're new, it can get really confusing really super fast. So let's clear a few things up, because if you are new to the path, you more than likely have been doing a lot of research on the internet. You probably watched a lot of videos, and all of the information can be really confusing, because if you ask 10 witches the same question, you are going to get probably 12 different answers. And I'm not really exaggerating there. But let's just kind of break it down a little bit. Witchcraft is not inherently evil. It is not satanic. That's fear-based propaganda, basically what it is. Usually rooted in colonization and religious control. Again, this kind of goes back up to what I said about gatekeeping, and some things just might not be for you. Again, I'm thinking of a video to do about the decolonization and deconstructing religious beliefs and all of that. So that video is in the pipeline to be created. Witchcraft also is not Wicca. Wicca is religion. Witchcraft is a practice. Some people are both, some aren't, and that's okay. I practice witchcraft. I consider myself a witch. I am not Wiccan. So there is a difference between the two, and I think that that is an important distinction to make. And if you are just starting on this path, maybe you don't know, and that's fine. So if you're interested in Wicca, look into it, read about it, research it, and find out if that's the path for you. But you do not have to be Wiccan to be a witch. And if you decide that you are a witch, you do not have to be Wiccan. And here's the big thing, and this is something that I have kind of struggled with myself a little bit, especially like the first few years I was practicing. Witchcraft is not about an aesthetic. It is not about how you look. It is not about looking witchy, okay? You don't need a black cloak. You don't need 100 candles or a perfectly curated altar. I mean, these are things you do not need these things. You don't. I like candles. Do I have 100 candles? I probably have more. But I also had a lot of candles before I was a witch. Okay, so it's not about an aesthetic. It's not about how you look. It's not about decoration. Okay, witchcraft is not about controlling others, contrary to what some people may think. True witchcraft is about sovereignty, not manipulation. So I guess maybe in one aspect it is about control. It is about controlling yourself, not other people. Okay, and it is about, like I just said, being sovereign, owning yourself and your place in the world. Know thyself, really. Witchcraft as a whole is not a closed practice, but there are closed practices. Okay, so that means that just because you're a witch doesn't mean that you can practice any and all type of spiritual witchy paths. Some things are going to be closed to you. And again, I'll just leave it on that. Again, I'm going to, there's a video that I'm working on about decolonization, deconstructing, appropriation, all of that kind of thing, because those things are real. And just because I call myself a witch doesn't mean that I have the right to practice hoodoo. That's closed to me. That's just how it is. That is not for me. It was not created for me. It was not created by people that look like me. It is not for me. So that's a closed practice. Voodoo is a closed practice. There are paths out there that are closed and you have to be initiated into them. So that's just really high level. Okay. So if you are here to reclaim your power, live more intentionally, live more authentically, and to connect with the sacred on your terms, you're in the right place, because that's what my channel is all about. So your practice is never going to look exactly like someone else's. And that's a really good thing. Okay. So your intuition is your strongest magical tool. And your intuition can be developed by your lived experiences. Your lived experiences are the things that shape you into the person that you are. They shape your beliefs. They shape how you interpret signs and symbols and all of that. And your lived experience is going to come out in how you craft your spells, your rituals, any of your workings, and your intuition helps you with all of that. Yeah. And the other thing too that is, I think, really important, you don't have to wait until you know everything to start actual practicing. There comes a time where you need to move from the research side of things to actually practicing, and this can be a hard transition to make because you're on YouTube. You are listening to and watching so many different people to try to get an understanding of what witchcraft is. There are people out there that may make it seem scary, like if you don't do a spell exactly right, it's going to backfire on you and it's going to mess up your life. So there's some fear mongering there, but it doesn't have to be full of fear, because there comes a time you are going to have to make that transition from reading about it and learning about it and researching it to actually doing it. That is a necessary step that you have to make, and start small. To me, witchcraft and actually practicing witchcraft is all about trial and error. I view it as an experiment. I have an idea for a spell that I want to do. So I'll put everything together that I think is going to work for that spell, and then I'll do it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, or even if it does, I write these down in my Book of Shadows. And I do have a series on creating a Book of Shadows, so I'll link that somewhere up here if you want to go check it out later. So you need to be curious, and you also need to trust yourself. This is where sovereignty comes in again. Trusting yourself. Trial and error. That's the only way that you are really going to learn. So again, stepping from the research phase into the actual practice. There's no test. Depending on the path you're walking, there is no initiation. Some paths there are. But if you are a solitary eclectic witch like me, there's no initiation. I initiated myself. So if you are walking the path with sincerity, you're already doing the work. If you are already soul searching, you're doing the work. So you are headed in the right direction. So now we're going to talk about tools and symbols. So I love tools. I have probably more tools than I need. And I also make jewelry, and I sell the jewelry. It's on my website, but the jewelry I make is set with intention and magical purpose. Okay. And there are pieces of jewelry that I only wear when I am performing ritual. But you don't need to have that. Your magic doesn't come from tools. It comes from you. It comes from inside of you. You don't need anything fancy to start. And I'm going to give you an example. This is my wand. Do you know where I found this? On the beach. It's driftwood. It called to me. I picked it up. That is my wand. It cost me nothing. Well, it cost me the trip to the beach, but neither here nor there. I did not go to the store and spend $80 on my wand. Am I going to embellish it? I might not. I like it the way it is. I like that it is simple. I like that it fits my hand. Very nice. And it didn't cost me anything. So you do not need tools. Moreover, you do not need expensive tools to start your practice. What the tools are is basically a focus. It is like it gives you something to focus your energy into or onto, but they are not necessary. You don't need a wand. You can use your finger. You can use your finger to direct your energy. Okay. You can, if you want a wand, you can go take a walk in the woods if you are able, and set the intention before you start that you want to find a branch that would be perfect for a wand. Or if you are walking on the beach or even in the forest, depending on where you live, and you want some crystals, again, depending on where you live, set the intention that you're going to find some cool rocks. You can find, again, depending on where you live, carnelian in a river, amethyst in a river, quartz in a river, garnets even in a river. And you don't need those things to start. I'm going to keep reiterating that when we're talking about tools. You do not need them to start. Okay. Like I just mentioned, they're helpers. They help you focus your energy. And make sure that if you are getting tools and if you want tools, that they're meaningful to you and not props. You know what I mean? That they're not like performative. You're not cosplaying, okay? Well, maybe you are. That's fine too. But if you're listening to me and if you're this far in the video, you are sincerely wanting to learn how to become a witch. All right, so now let's talk about the witch's role in the modern world. Okay, witchcraft isn't just about personal power, though it is that. It can also be a form of spiritual activism, a way to create change, a way to heal, and a way to reclaim your autonomy. Okay, trying to think of ways to talk about this. So I'll just give you an example. On the reclaiming part, I got my DNA done, whatever. I didn't use 23andMe, I used somebody else. But I learned that I am 73% Scottish, which is good because I'm drawn to Scottish things. So one of the things that I have done is I have picked up several books on Scottish witchcraft, Scottish history, Scottish spirituality, and all of that stuff. So I am working on reclaiming that part of my history and that part of my ancestry. Okay, so that's one way that you can work to get back in touch with your ancestors if you want to work with your ancestors. If you want to work with deities but you don't know what pantheon, looking into your heritage could give you a path to that. Another thing that witches do is work on breaking generational cycles. There are so many cycles, generational cycles, that one can work on to break, whether it be a long family history of addiction or abuse or there's so many things that are given to us from our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents. So working through that and breaking those beliefs that don't benefit you. Like if you grow up in a household where the belief is that money is the root of all evil, you could have money problems. And if you're tired of having money problems and you're a witch, that is something that you're going to need to work on to heal, is your belief that money is the root of all evil. Ask me how I know. So it's also being like in the right relationship with the land, with spirit, and your community. It's like living intentionally in the world that benefits from your distraction. We're being distracted a lot right now. It is April of 2025. There are a lot of things going on right now that are distracting us. Living intentionally and paying attention to yourself and your body and your practice can help you not be so distracted by all of the things that are going on. And we'll leave it at that. No, we won't. When you become intentional, you can see the things that you have the power to work on and work towards affecting a change. Witchcraft can help you do that if you want it to. But when we are distracted about everything that is going on, whether it's the government right now and society, or even if it is you're not sure if you're going to have a job tomorrow, that is also a distraction and a fear, and all of these things can impact your practice. But if you work really hard on remaining intentional, thoughtful, and present, then these stressors, while still there, and while they'll still have an impact on you, it will lessen. So you will be able to think straight. Basically, that's what I have found in my practice in these times. Okay, so now I want to tell you where you can start. If all of this is lighting a fire under you, don't wait for permission to begin. Start a journal. Go sit in nature and watch the birds and listen to the trees if you are able. Try grounding, centering, and meditation. Okay, I've got some stuff I'm working on for those three things, so stay tuned. And work on connecting with your intuition. Now, meditation can help you connect with your intuition. It has helped me a great deal. Now, meditation isn't necessarily forcing your brain to be quiet. That's really not what it is, or that's not what it is for me, because my brain rarely wants to shut up. So when I am meditating, I do what is it called? Square breathing. So like in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and I count, okay? Or when I'm breathing in, I'm like in with the good, out with the bad. In with joy, out with anger. That is kind of how I start meditating, and that gets me into that meditative state. There are many different ways to meditate. If you guys are interested in meditation and learning how to meditate, drop a comment below and I'll look into doing a video on that. Journaling, observe nature, try grounding, centering, and meditation. Like I said, I've got some things in the work for that. Connecting with your intuition. And you might want to start a book of shadows. I do have a series on starting a book of shadows, so I might have mentioned that already. So I will add that in the description below. And I do have a free quick start Book Shadows guide. It's free. I'm going to drop that link below. It'll be right at the top of the description. So go check that out if you're interested in starting a Book Shadows. Final thoughts that I have here. Witchcraft isn't about perfection. It's a path. It is deeply personal. It is supremely powerful, and you belong here. The other thing that I want to say in closing is I came to this path almost 10 years ago. So I was 45. I'm 55 today. That's when I started down this path. And maybe if people are interested, I can go a little bit further into that. But you belong, and it's not too late to start. If you are in your 30s or 40s or 50s and you find yourself at a crossroads, it's not too late to start. It's not. So if this content has resonated with you, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more content. I am working on a lot of things. I've got a lot of playlists I'm working on at the moment. So check out my channel, and I'll link a playlist that you might be interested in the end card. And I would like to hear about your path, how you started on your path. If you are a more seasoned witch, if you are new and are just seeking and searching, if you have any questions at all, please drop them in the comments below, and let's grow together. I'm here to help. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay witchy, stay blessed.